Welcome back, everybody, to another Whisker Fishing 208 podcast. And I have my buddy Ryan Lewis here, former California native, moving to Idaho, living that Idaho life. Ryan, tell the people how you're doing and how's Idaho treating you?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm doing great. Idaho, it's an experience. I moved here in December, so definitely getting into the winter here, and
Mm-hmm.
it's new. So driving in the snow, new, everything like that. So it's cool. I can't wait for spring, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah, yeah,
nice.
yeah. Yeah, so we'll just kind of get into it here, man. So I know you're a big hunter. I've known you and your brother for God knows how long. I don't really know. It's been years, and
Long
I know
time.
you're a big hunter, and you did a lot of hunting in California, and you're transferring that up into Idaho. So kind of just go into how hunting was for you as a kid and what your first experience was.
Okay, so kind of hunting for me was I was late to the game. I didn't really start hunting until I was like 15, 16.
Mm-hmm.
It all started with the dog, I'd say.
Yeah,
Dad got our black lab Wyatt, and
good
that
dog.
kind of started the hunting craze for me, and hunting just pheasant, planted pheasant in a field, and then that evolved into going out on duck hunts, going out and getting my mule deer buck this last fall,
Yep.
and just yeah. So like I said, it started late for me, and just it developed into something I'm very passionate about, and
Yeah.
something I love to talk about,
Oh
obviously
yeah.
with you,
Yes, sir.
yeah, just
Yeah.
something I love.
Yeah, dude. I'm glad to have you on. So yeah. Kind of going into your first experience. So back in California, you guys did a lot of bird hunting. It seemed like because you guys had those dogs equipped, and ready to get after them at a young age. And I know you guys trained a few dogs. I know you have still your lab with you, right? Correct. And your healer, obviously.
My girlfriend's here.
Yeah, your girlfriend's healer. Yep. So yeah, just kind of go into the duck hunting side of California and how that was,
Yeah.
with the public land hunting and how that kind of shaped into moving up here and getting into the hunting up here.
So yeah, like you said, big. I would say I'm a duck hunter more than anything. I'm not, I'm not gonna say, oh, I'm the best duck hunter out here. Or I'm the most experienced because I'm not. But definitely, I've got a passion for it. It's something I love to do. Um, Dogs are great. I'm not a dog trainer at all, but I think it's all in the breeding and all and what kind of dog you get.
Sure.
But yeah, like my dad and I, when we first started training our first dog, Wyatt Black Lab, we had no idea what the heck we were doing, and luckily we had a good mentor to help us like kind of steer that dog in the
Yeah.
right
Ease
direction.
into it.
Yeah, exactly, and that led into our second lab, Doc, my yellow
Doc.
lab,
Yes.
and I would be lying to say he's a bird dog. He's been out once, so I'm not very good bird dog dad, but he's a good boy nonetheless. But yeah, duck hunting for me in California, it's cool. It's a knockout, drag out kind of deal.
Yep.
I especially refuge. I wasn't. I've hunted private land a couple times, but nothing
Mm.
too consistent.
Yep.
So definitely jealous of all those private pond guys that
Yep.
get to blast ducks whenever they want. How the California refuge system works is you go hunting Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you pretty
Okay.
much at the beginning of the season you put in the lottery, like a bunch of draws for different refuges, and you put those in at the beginning of the season, and throughout the season, 10 days before the draw date, you'll know if you get to go hunting or not.
Sure.
So I would mainly put in for like the Sacramento area.
Mm-hmm.
Further south I'd go as Los Panos. So basically I'd be hanging out in those two areas.
Yep.
If I got a draw, then it was game on. I call a couple buddies, hey, who wants to go?
Yep.
And we pack up the decoys, pack up the dog, load the shotguns, and head on out. And then if you don't have a reservation, doesn't mean you can't hunt, but you're sitting in something called the sweat line. And I'm not a fan of the sweat line. I like to
Yeah.
have, if I'm driving all that way, I want to be able to guarantee a blind and stuff. So
Yeah. You want to have some room.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's awesome, man. Awesome to hear. I'm not a huge hunter. I've never really gone hunting. I've shot a few times
Mhm.
over the years, and it's a good time. I want to get into hunting, especially being in the state where it's just really known for, being a really big hunting state up here in Idaho. But
Mhm.
yeah, in California, I kind of just want to get a better understanding of like the limit. So how many ducks are you allowed to kill and keep between you and maybe a few of your buddies, or if it was just you and your dad, or
Mhm.
if you can kind of go into that, that'd be great.
So it's a seven duck limit for per man. So that's a mixed bag. You can shoot seven of any kind of different duck. There are some restrictions on what kind of waterfowl you can limit, like a pintail.
Sure.
Um, is a one duck per man. So if you shoot more than one, that's a hefty fine right there. So
Yeah.
you got to be real careful, especially if you have one in the bag. So seven duck limit, and some ducks are more. There's something called a coot, which is a black duck. It's a nuisance duck. It's not very good eating.
Yeah.
You can shoot 25 of them a day.
That's cool.
So,
That's a lot.
there's some ducks that you can shoot a lot of, and that's one of them. So
Very cool.
yeah, seven duck limit per man. So if you shoot a limit in the California refuge, you're doing damn good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Definitely. Um, Kind of just still kind of get into a little bit in the California hunting. What type of gun are you using to get after these ducks? Is it a 22, a 12, or is it kind of just preference? I know some guys will go 12. I know some guys will go 22, buckshot. All that type of stuff. And I'm not too experienced on what type of different shot and gun like that
yeah.
you use for these type of ducks. So I kind of just want to you know ask you and see what you use and what your buddies use and all that good stuff.
So typically, what I use a 12 gauge. That's pretty standard throughout
Yep.
most hunters for birds. So I use 12 gauge when I'm duck hunting. I use 3-inch Kent fast steel 3-shot. I have nothing but bad things to say about that round. It puts them down for me. So I recommend that. But there's guys that run all different kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
20 gauge, 12 gauge, just all across the board. It's really personal preference at that point, and kind of a lot of guys. What's the cheapest you can get? What's the
Yeah.
cheapest shot you can get?
Yeah.
Uh, for me, I tend to be kind of a gear junkie. I like having certain things the right way, and I have confidence in it. If I'm out there with not the most reliable gun and not the most reliable ammo, I'm going to feel a lot different than I am with with the gear I've got assembled and that I like to use.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I know, in Idaho and other places there has been like ammo shortages over the years, and I kind of just want to know, like, do you like stock up on ammo like weeks beforehand before you go hunting, or is it months before and you kind of just have it ready to go every time you go, or maybe have to make a quick trip down to a local gun store to get some, and how does that look for you?
I always like to buy a case, especially if I know I'm hunting heavily that season. I'll buy a case of ammo, and that will get me. If I shoot half a case, I'm a terrible shot, and I shouldn't be hunting anymore. But if I shoot half a case of ammo, that's a lot for me. So granted, I'm not out there every day. I'm not out there every week. I'm
Yeah,
out there when I can, but two, three, four times a season, if I can get lucky enough to get a draw, I'll probably go through about half a case, which
yeah,
is 5 boxes of ammo, uh,
nice,
5 boxes of 25. So I
cool.
always have a little extra just in case. But
Yeah, I always want to be
typically,
prepared.
typically when you buy it in the case, it's the cheapest. So
Yeah.
that's what I usually go with.
Sweet. Yeah, you always want to be prepared no matter what.
Mhm.
And yeah, so before we kind of get into the fishing side, I kind of wanted just to ask, I know that California is obviously a pretty busy state. There's a lot of people overrunning, and there's the population is growing. So how does that kind of look into the hunting side, especially when you're out on public land like that, and especially out in the Sacramento area and that out in those refugees,
Yeah. I
are
mean,
you like neck and neck with a lot of people, or is it kind of like you got some room to work with, or how does that look?
there's a lot of competition when it comes to California hunting. Especially at these refuges, it's all the same, guys like me, don't have access to, private land all the time. They're coming out. They're going to be just as hungry to get the best blind that you are. Right. So luckily with that lottery system, it's draw numbers, right? So you get a letter in the mail. Okay, you're getting number 6 that day. So you get the 6th pick of what blind you want. So that kind of helps mediate a little bit, but there's some refuges, more old school, that it's first come, first serve. As soon as those gates open, you're rushing to the best spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it gets a little cutthroat sometimes. So
Yeah,
you
definitely.
got to be careful with that. And it's
Yeah.
the same thing. Public hunting, from what I hear around here, is like
Hmm.
there's certain spots that if you don't get there early enough, you're going to be in on someone's hunt, and that's
Exactly.
definitely something you want to avoid.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to have any, conflict out there.
Mhm.
I feel like the same thing goes for fishing as well. I mean, I've been fishing
Yeah,
here for, 3.5 years. It's basically all I do. And, I know my spots, and I know, where I need to be at and what time I need to be out there. And then, I'll show up to a spot, and if there's people there, I'm not getting into any conflict. It's not worth
yeah,
it to me. But yeah, you always want to, be prepared, and it's good that they have that lottery system, and, you kind of get the pick of the litter if you do hit a good lottery, and you get a good pick on one of those blinds.
mhm,
Um, the interview before the one with you that we're having right now, I talked to Isaac, who's out in Texas right now, and
mhm.
he is on a exotic ranch, and he's doing a lot of private land hunting,
Okay.
which is pretty cool. And he kind of explained to me how that goes down, and that most of Texas is about mostly private land. He's
Yeah,
like, yeah, I mean, we'll have public land, but it's really nice because you're not getting a lot of these hunters out there just overrunning these spots. I mean, like, you got to
yeah,
either have permission, you got to sign some waivers, and schedule a time to come out there and hunt on these exotic ranches and these private land areas. So it's kind of cool to kind of decipher and see how a lot of these states with more public land go about it. But yeah, I mean, that's super cool. I've shot a few shotguns in my time, and I'm like, man, this would be cool to kind of go out and get after some ducks. Um,
well, we got
if
to get
you,
some blind, buddy.
yeah, dude, we'll definitely get after it. I gotta go down to the DMV and get some stuff changed here soon, so I'm able to carry and then get my hunting license.
Yeah, there you go.
So we'll definitely have to get after it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So kind of just transitioning here a little bit, kind of from the hunting to the fishing side. I know you do a lot of fishing as well in California, and hopefully you'll be doing some here up here
Oh,
because it's some of the best in the country. I mean, you can target pretty much any species you want up here, so
yeah.
it's pretty dope. Minus the saltwater, but
Mhm.
it is what it is. So yeah, kind of just go into your first experience fishing, what species you might have targeted, where you might have went, and all that good stuff, gear and bait and preference of spots
Yeah.
and all that good stuff. If you want to get into that, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
So my first experience fishing was in Lassen National Forest, Hat Creek.
Yep.
It's a pretty popular creek for trout fishermen. That's where I caught my first fish. That's where my brother caught his first. I think my brother. I don't know, but definitely a special special place in my heart. Definitely.
Yes.
I've been going there for so many years, and
Hmm.
the best trout fishing. I love it. But yeah, 8 years old, going to Hat Creek, hanging out with dad, my uncles, and a bunch of other their buddies, and just having a good time. And
Yeah.
that's
Camping
like
out.
that's where I got my love for fishing, is hanging out with all the guys, getting it done, and going doing some fishing. And then when
Yeah.
I got older, it turned into drinking and fishing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you ain't catching fish, you got to catch a buzz. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's gonna be one of the two. But yeah, I mean, Hat Creek, I have a little experience fishing up that way. Actually, in the Lassen National Forest, it's about an hour north of Chico in Chester. If
Mhm.
you know where Chester's at, it's the specific spot is called Deer Creek, and I don't know if it's north or south of Hat Creek area, but I know it's kind of in that same
Mhm.
range. But I grew up also doing a lot of trout fishing and going up to the Lassen National Forest and hitting those smaller creeks. My dad ended up going to Chico State at some point, and he had a lot of experience and a lot of stories of fishing up there for steelhead and those stocked rainbow trout up in those
Yep.
creeks, and some even native, some of those native German browns. He said he got on, and it's pretty cool hearing those stories, and then also, you experiencing as a kid. I remember being, 7, 8 years old as well, being up there, and it's just, it's a great experience being around, adults, and you're just like, you're on top of the world. You're like, oh man, I'm around the big boys today, and hopefully I can get on some fish.
Exactly. Yeah.
Excuse me. But yeah, I mean, like I said before, those first experiences, that's what kind of gets you hooked, and that's
Yeah.
what got me hooked on fishing. Is going out when I was 4 or 5 years old to just the local lakes, Shadow Cliffs, Del
Yep.
Val, Los Vaqueros with my dad, and just getting after it, trout fishing, right at dawn, as soon as the sun comes up, we're out there. So yeah, if you want, just kind of go into maybe some more experiences as you got older. Did you fish any of the reservoirs in the area, in the the Bay Area, as you were you know
Yeah.
still in California before you moved up to Idaho? If you want to get into that, that'd be great as well.
Yeah, like you said, just fishing the local fisheries around us. Shadow Cliffs, Los Vaqueros, Lake Del Val. All those different fisheries. You're snagging striper, the Delta. California Delta.
Yep.
Fishing all that area. It's getting into my older years, actually buying my own gear and going out and doing my own thing. Start targeting bass
Yeah.
heavily,
Yep.
largemouth. Striper out of the Delta, striper out of Vaqueros.
Yep.
Um, Lake Don Pedro,
Don
Lake
Pedro.
Whisker, all those lakes.
Oh
Great
yeah.
fishing through the reservoir system here in California, and that's something I cherish. There's a lot of things wrong with that state, but
Yep.
um, once you start getting out of the bigger cities and start getting into the more of the countryside and the forests and stuff, that's where California is really at. And I'm just thankful I got to fish there for the time I did. But yeah, just some of the best fishing trips were up in Lassen. It's
Yeah. 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 Can't beat it.
camping, hanging out, catching trout. It's fun. And like you're saying, those native fish, man, it's special when you get one.
Oh yeah.
I caught a native brown once. It was about this big, but I mean, still, I could say I got one.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's
always a great
not a
memory.
brown brook, native brook trout.
Yeah,
So
dude.
um, it's awesome. It's like, wow, this fish got to be that size, and they don't. Especially there. You got so much predation, so many predators there that
Yeah.
it's hard for these native fish to get to the size they need to be to start helping the population out. So it's cool. It's cool. But yeah, it's definitely going to be exciting getting into the spring up here.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of friends up here now that have told me, hey, get ready, buddy, get your lines tight because it's on as soon as
Oh
spring
yeah.
comes. We got a lot of spots to show me. So
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
excited for that. And I live in Twin Falls, so I'm right on the Snake River.
That's where I'm at all the
Yeah,
time.
exactly. Right on the
Yep.
Snake. So just from what I've heard from a bunch of anglers I work with and buddies I made up here is sturgeon, smallmouth, largemouth, trout, pretty much whatever you want to target, it's here. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, a lot of people, they think California and they think overrun and all this, all this other BS, and but we got forest, we got reservoirs, we got good fishing up there. You
Yeah.
kind of just have to find it, and then transitioning from going there and to here was kind of a difficult thing for me. Just kind of finding the spots where to fish, and we got the Boise River running right through town, and I've had a lot of good luck catching some really good brown trout and rainbows out of this the stretch of the rivers that I've been at, and it's been awesome. And I spend a lot of my time also springtime when it starts warming up out on the Snake River. I have a bunch of different spots. I've also been out towards Twin Falls before to do a little bit of bow fishing
Oh, there you go.
out on that stretch of the Snake. So you're going after those invasive carp, and I mean you're out on the a little bass boat, and it's pretty fun. It's really hard, but
Yeah.
it's pretty rewarding when you get one of them. So there's a lot of opportunities to fish. My main fishing up here has been catfish, trout, and bass. We have some of the best smallmouth fishing in
Oh
the
yeah,
country. I mean, it's just unbelievable. The largemouth is a little bit more hard to come by. You just kind of have to get to those
those
neighborhood
pockets. Yeah,
ponds and those pockets. But
yeah.
I've gotten on a lot of good smallmouth, and I'm actually, I've just got my gear to start sturgeon fishing. So I think I'm
Oh,
going
there
out
you
this
go.
Saturday to get after some
Okay.
sturgeon. So yeah, it's a wonderful place up here. I mean, it's
Yeah.
an outdoorsman paradise. So I mean, you
No,
can't get any better, and it's just a fantastic time.
now,
Um,
Cody, let me ask you something. If
yeah.
when you moved up here, did you have someone that kind of mentored you on like what spots to go to? Did you make a buddy that was like, "Hey, let me show you these spots," or was it kind of you branched out and you found them on your own?
So when I first moved up here, I didn't know much about the fishing and kind of, who knows what and where to go and what to target and, kind of what to use. So I did kind of a mixture. My first probably year up here, I kind of just did my traditional, what I used in California, I'm going to use up here and see if it works. And most of the time it did work out for me. But, the fishing up here is a little bit different. The fish up here, the trout, catfish, they definitely like there's certain baits and there's certain stuff that I stick to and certain gear that I use.
Yeah.
But over time, as I kind of, got more experienced on the Boise and the Snake River and some of these local ponds and lakes in the area, I kind of just reached out to some people that I know have been up here their whole life. And I'm just like, well, what do you use? What are you targeting? What bait are you using? What type of rigs are you going after? And if you can tell me some spots, that'd be great. I'm not much of a guy to ask somebody else like, oh, where are you specifically fishing? Like I need a pinpoint on Google
Yeah.
Maps, like just tell me the stretch of river and I'll find the fish. And that's kind of thing I took with and ran with it. Just this kind of past summer, I started posting a lot of content on TikTok for my account Whisker Fishing 208, and then I also was posting YouTube shorts on YouTube for my account, and those were doing pretty well. And I started gaining some traction. I was able to reach my 1,000 follower goal on TikTok, which
Congratulations, man.
allowed. Yeah, I appreciate it, dude. A lot of dedication. I mean, I was out on the Snake River probably 4 or 5 times a week. I would be getting off of work and I'd pack up all my gear and I'd go out to the spots and I'd be out there till 3 or 4 in the morning. Not mostly by myself. I definitely had some buddies like Sean and a few other friends, Anthony, my brother, and Sean's buddies, Alan and Scott, who was also excited to get on the fishing out here. So, but as far as mentors go, I wouldn't say I really had any mentors. I kind of just reached out to some guys for some
Okay.
advice, and most of the people are really nice up here and were willing to, give me some tips and some just general advice on like where to target and how to get after these fish. And it's been quite the journey so far. And now I'm kind of at a stage where I'm comfortable and I know what to use and how to get after these fish, and it's been actually just it's just been great. So yeah, just not too many mentors. I met some dudes on TikTok. I went out with one guy. I went out with one dude and we went after some flatheads, which is kind of the hidden gem fish up here. Not a lot of people know about the catfishing up here. They think Snake River and they're like, oh, there's trout and there's trophy size trout. Like where down where you're at in Twin Falls, it's
Yeah.
probably the best trout fishing in the country. You got fly fishermen and all sorts of anglers coming out from anywhere in the country coming out and trying to get on those fish. So it's definitely a special area. But yeah, I wouldn't say I had any mentors. I kind of just had to do it on my own and stuck with it, and here I am. About to get after a new species, sturgeon. It's some
There
of
you
the
go.
definitely the more world-renowned fish, especially on the Snake River and the Columbia. And I'm excited to get on those. They're really big and powerful fish. There's a lot of
Yep.
regulations that go into fishing for these type of fish. You got to go barbless hooks.
Yep.
You got to have your big heavy rod, big heavy reel. You got to
Yep.
have the right gear to go after these fish or they'll just break you off almost immediately.
I mean, you're fishing for a dinosaur. You really
Yeah,
are. That's
seriously.
what you are. You're doing
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Prehistoric fish. I mean, they've been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, and they've inhabited and been around in the Snake River and the Columbia for forever. And
Yep.
a lot of the anglers I talk to, man, they get after the sturgeon up here.
Mhm.
And I asked for some advice, and they were willing to give me a good amount of advice. And I think I'm ready to get after these fish. But
Now,
you got to,
are you going to be shore fishing them?
yeah, I'll be bank fishing. Just kind of going out to Swan Falls Dam. It's a pretty popular stretch of the Snake River up here. It's got some really big sturgeon. It's just kind of a busier area and a busier stretch of river. You got a lot of people, so you kind of just have to kind of walk and find your own spot, and you find those deep holes, and those fish will be there. But yeah, I mean, it's just all about using the right fit, the right bait, and the right tackle, and following all the regulations. You got to have barbless hooks, like I said. You got to have a break off line to your weight, so you can have a snap swivel down to a bead, and then your swivel leader line hook, but you have to have your line that you have attached to that swivel has to be lower than your main line, just because if it does break off, you're not getting that entire rig wrapped around those sturgeon, and then weeks later they float above and are dead, or some other person catches them and they got a whole bunch of tackle in themselves. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenge, and I'm that's the biggest thing this year is challenging myself with new fishing, and sturgeon fishing's some of the biggest fish you can catch. I mean, they get up to
Biggest
six,
stretch
700 pounds. It's just
Yeah.
it's just pretty insane. So I'm pretty excited to get after it.
Now, what kind of gear you think you'd be running for that?
Yeah, so a lot of dudes up here that fish for sturgeon have been fishing for sturgeon their entire life. There's at least 3 or 4 dudes that I've talked to, and they all have preference of rods and specific gear they use.
Kind
A
of
lot of What was that?
like duck hunting, certain gear for certain people. Like it's
Yeah,
what the
exactly.
yeah.
It's really all preference. The biggest thing that they say is you got to have the right line,
Mhm.
not so much having the right reel or the right rod. Obviously that helps, and obviously you don't want to break a rod or break a reel.
Mhm.
But you got to have the right line. A lot of these guys will run Mad Cat rods. They'll run anvil rods. They'll run TFRs, which are toughest freaking rods. That's what they're called. Kind of a badass name, if in my opinion. But a lot of the guys will use ugly sticks. So I mean,
Oh, really?
it's your generic fishing brand. It's a brand that I grew up on. It's a brand that a lot of my rods, most of my rods are ugly sticks. I mean,
3 or 4. Yeah.
yeah, they don't break. They're super reliable, and basically what I'm going to be running for now is I have a 12-foot big water ugly stick,
Okay.
and I have a Dawa BG 8000, which is a basically a saltwater reel.
Yeah, that's a big reel.
Yeah, I mean I'm going to be running
You're
probably.
basically running a saltwater rig to
Yeah,
catch.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. I mean, sturgeon are also saltwater fish. You can catch them in the Bay Area, in the Bay in San Francisco, and also in the Delta and the Sacramento River and all those stretches of water. But yeah, I mean, it's really about having the right gear. I mean, I'm running probably over 100-pound braid, and it's going to
Oh,
be
wow.
probably about 300 yards of it, because these fish will
They'll run on you.
they will run on you. They'll take that bait, and when you set the hook, you got to be ready.
Yeah.
They grab that bait and they're taking off for the
Now
hills. And
are they saying to run a leader only? Are you running a mono leader, or are you just going straight braid to hook?
so you basically, what I'm going to be running is I'm going to have obviously the 100-pound braid as my main line, and that's going to be spooled up to about 300 to 330 yards. And then I'm basically going to be running basically a clip, my break off line to probably either a 10-pound cannonball sinker or a pyramid sinker. A lot of people prefer the pyramid because they really sink into that sand and they don't move as much in that current, because when you're fishing for sturgeon up here, you're hitting those big pockets of water, and I mean, some of those holes can get to 80 to 100 feet deep, and the current is ripping, and sometimes that 10-ounce weight is just bouncing. So it's really all about preference, but I think I'm going to be running pyramid weight, and basically, you have that break off line, so it's probably going to be about 25 to 30-pound test, and
Okay.
you tie a knot to the actual the swivel clip, and then you have your line down, tie it to the pyramid sinker, and then basically what I'm going to do is probably have 2 good sized beads
Hmm.
that when basically what happens is when that clip comes down, it's going to keep hitting that bead and hitting that bead, and it's going to protect the knot. So the knot to the, then you have, your heavy duty swivel, which is obviously basically what's going to be your entire setup right there.
Yep.
And that those beads just, it really helps with that resilience to that weight just coming down and hitting it and hitting it and hitting it. And then you have that, the big heavy duty swivel. I'll probably be running about probably 80 pound mono,
Yeah.
80-pound mono leader to a big Gamakatsu, probably A-dot,
Yeah.
A-dot hook. And then for bait, I mean, there's so much different bait you can use.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people will use fresh trout, so they'll get big old trout heads,
Hmm.
and they'll just hook it straight through the mouth and huck it out there. Some guys will use cut herring because herring's really popular on the Columbia and the Snake River.
Yeah.
And then there's also a thing called sturgeon candy, which I believe is like pickled. I think it's pickled squid.
Mhm.
If I'm I don't know if I'm 100% correct on that, but I believe it's pickled squid. And basically, you just huck out there and wait. It's just like any other bottom rig fishing, just like catfish, or if you're fishing for trout in a lake, you just wait. But the difference is when they take that bait and you set that hook. I mean, you could be fighting this fish if you catch a good one. If you catch like a 7 or above footer, I mean, you're fighting this fish for a few hours.
Oh yeah.
And they have no tire in them. They just keep on going and keep on going.
I've seen pictures of guys that are using underweight, under weight like hooks or whatever, and they're straightening hooks on these guys. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
crazy. Like 2, 3 aught hooks. I mean, that's kind of undersized for what monsters you could get, but like freaking 3 aught hook getting straightened out, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean they're extremely powerful fish. I
Yeah.
mean, once they grab that bait, I mean they just take off. And I mean, if you're fishing a certain area where there's a ledge in the middle of the river, if there's a ledge in the middle of the river, a lot of times what I've heard is that these sturgeon will just stick themselves over this ledge and you just cannot get them out
Mm.
for hours. I mean, I watched a video of this guy. He's like, yeah, this fish is on this ledge, and it was like an 8-foot sturgeon, and he was just sitting there. And basically what these guys try to do is they reel up, and they try to turn these fish around so they start swimming towards them.
Mm.
And a lot of the time you're like, man, when are they going to get those fish in? And they'll get them within 15 feet of shore, and then all of a sudden, as soon as they see you, they turn around and they take off
Run
again.
again. Yeah.
So they're just extremely powerful fish, and I have no idea what to expect. All I know is that these guys are like, when you hook onto one of these big ones, just hang on for dear life, and do what you always do, and just let the fish do it. Let the fish do what it wants, and when that line stops pulling, when that drag stops dragging, start reeling,
Yep.
and you got to gain some ground on these fish. So it's definitely going to be an experience, and I think I'm ready for it, but we'll see if I'm ready for it.
All right. Well, that's good luck to you on that, man. Because
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna stick with the trout for right now.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the trout fishing up here, like I said before, is just it's unbelievable. I just caught my personal best trout on the Boise River. It was like about 4 pounds, maybe 5 pounds. And
trout.
I was using shrimp. So
Mhm.
before coming up to Boise and even being here, I've never used shrimp for trout in my
Yeah.
entire life. And I found this guy's YouTube account, and he was just like, in the winter times when it gets real cold, these fish just love that scent. So if
Mhm.
you can get some store-bought shrimp, ball it up, put it on your typical trout hook. I normally run 6-aught hooks, 6-aught eagle claws,
Yep.
and you just float it down the river. Just your standard float technique. You have a good size little weight, like that big, and about 14 inches up the line, and you just float these deep pockets. And I was able to hook onto a big one, and I've lost a lot of big fish while I've been up here, especially trout. And I was just like, I can't lose this one. And I was stoked. You get one of these bigger fish in, and it's just, I'm shaking the entire time. It's on my TikTok, and I was speechless. It was a hell of an experience. And I ended up meeting the guy that I found his YouTube account. I ended up meeting the guy on the same stretch of river,
Well, that's
about
cool.
a few weeks after. And I told him, and he took a video of my video on his little camcorder or GoPro, or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I mean, it was really cool. And It was a great experience, and like I said, dude, the fishing up here is just amazing, especially down where you're at, man. I mean, you can't get a
Yeah,
better
I'm
stretch of the
excited.
Snake River.
I'm excited. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna be hitting it hard this spring. Any day off I get, in between, I'm buying a house pretty soon here. So
heck yeah.
uh, any free time I get from that, and the home chores, I'm gonna definitely be out there fishing.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, okay, noodling. You know what noodling is?
Oh yeah,
All
I
right.
definitely do.
So would you take a noodling trip?
150,000%. I honestly talk about it almost all the time with my buddies, and they're like, "Oh, you're fucking nuts." I mean, my preferred fishing is catfishing.
Yeah.
I've been catfishing my entire life. Out on the Delta with my dad when I was younger, him showing the same spots his dad showed him, and I mean, I've caught those flatheads that those people are noodling for.
Mhm.
Those are the fish that are specifically targeted for noodling just because of
Yep.
the size of their mouth. You're able to get your entire hand in there, and I've been had my fair share of being bit by catfish and their barbs getting into my skin, and it doesn't
Mhm.
feel good. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, what does it feel like?" I mean, getting bit by
Not the most
catfish,
pleasant.
it feels like somebody shut your hand in like a drawer. Like if I'm being honest,
Yeah.
especially the little ones. The little ones will just clamp onto your hand, they won't let go, and then they just scrape the top of
Uh,
the layer skin, and it feels like sand grit paper just going on the top
yeah.
layer of your skin, and it's just brutal. But dude, noodling is definitely on my bucket list.
So
Unfortunately, I
for
don't.
me, not
Oh
for
yeah,
me.
what's up?
Not for me.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah. It's not for everybody.
like me underwater for a prolonged period of time, it's not gonna happen. Like
Yeah.
I don't
I,
like that.
I mean, if and when I go, I'm definitely going to be going out with some people that do this either all the
Oh yeah.
time, a guide, whatever it may be. I know Isaac in Texas is like, I got some buddies out here that do noodling all the time. He's like, if you come out to my neck of the woods, like we'll definitely get on them. And I was just like, I'm stoked. That'd be great. I mean, it's definitely nerve wracking. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I get nervous just taking a damn test for school. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how I'm gonna be being underwater, sticking my hand in a fucking hole.
Yeah.
Um,
Or you can't see.
where you can't see, and most of the time, these guys are, are you going to wear a glove or are you going to go bare hand? I was like, probably for my first time, I'll probably wear a glove just in case a snapping turtle or something else is down
Yeah.
there. But I'm
But
sure these
shit will take
guys,
your finger regardless, don't matter.
yeah, exactly. And it's just like, before I even do it, I'm just like, you're going to go down there and you're going to tell me if there's a catfish in this hole. Cause I'm not going to just
Yeah.
stick my hand in I've done some yeehaw fucking, redneck shit.
Mhm.
I will say that right now. And I've, done some sketchy stuff while fishing, but this is just, way past that. And it's just,
Yeah.
it's an adrenaline rush. I mean, I might have to take a shot or two before I even get in the water, just to calm my nerves a little bit. But when I'm ready to go and I'm like, well, I got no choice. I'm here with these guys. I'm gonna do it. So yeah, I definitely would love to take a noodling trip. It's definitely a ballsy thing, and not a lot of people do it, but I'm definitely willing to do it. I talk about it all the time, and I think it would be a hell of an experience.
Well, Cody, with the flow and just knowing you, I think you're a noodling guy. So I think you should take that bull by the horns and be that guy.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do it. I'm gonna try to plan a trip out here in the summertime to go out to Texas where Isaac is, and the first thing I'm going to be like is like, all right, who knows where to noodle, because I'm down for it.
Yeah.
Let's get after it.
Watch out for alligators,
Yeah,
gar,
yeah, alligator gar.
water moccasins.
Yep, yep. I went out to Texas and I remember I was in San Antonio, and there's a stretch of the river. I don't remember what the river is called, but it's called the Chute.
Mhm.
And basically it's like a man-made little slide that you can just go down and hit this patch of water where it just goes down. And supposedly a few years back at this place, a dude went underwater and got bit by like 70 water moccasin and like died instantly.
So, I mean,
And it was sketchy as hell. And I'm just like, oh, well, I mean, are those still there? And the people I was with are like, no, like fishing game, yeah, Fish and Wildlife, they're all different names across the
yeah,
US.
yeah,
They're like, they went in and they basically got, professional guys that, dive underwater to go out and extract these snakes. And I guess they do kind of a checkup every so often, a few times a year, to make sure there's not any snakes down there. But yeah, I mean, the noodling, man, I it's definitely it's on my bucket list, and I
yeah.
want to do it for sure.
No, that'd
So
be cool, man. That'd be cool. It's like you would like it, and it'd become just part of you. Is
yeah, no,
I'm
100%. 100%, dude. I mean, it's just
yeah.
like I said, I talk about it all the time, and
And then you can put in
it's,
your bio, noodler.
yeah, exactly. Just another thing to add to the list.
You get
And
you get a win. Yeah, there you
yeah,
go.
exactly. And it was kind of funny that you brought it up because I just been talking about it nonstop, and I'm like, I got to do it. I'm gonna do it. But yeah, dude, kind of, closing things out. Is there anything else that you want to touch up on, or or
Nothing really too crazy, man. Just being up in Idaho this like last month, I just got to meet some freaking awesome people, and
yeah,
and everyone's super nice.
yeah,
I got to meet a state trapper, which is pretty cool. I
nice.
got to talk to him for a little
That's
while, and
epic.
what he does is he kind of goes up. He goes up in a helicopter and a plane, and he takes out predators. So like coyotes,
Yeah,
wolves, mountain
there's a lot
lions.
of them out there.
Yeah, so it was cool to talk to him and kind of get his experiences and
Yeah,
kind of
definitely.
where he suggested, because I definitely want to get a wolf hunt under my belt
Yeah,
this next
yeah,
season coming up. So, I mean, there's no season for wolves, but
yep,
definitely when I'm out there, I'll be on the lookout for him. But yeah, he's like, kind of got me on the itch, man, of, getting into the predator hunting because he's
yeah,
like, yeah, man, the other day I shot a 210-pound wolf. I'm
yeah,
like,
yep.
yeah, that's metal.
Yeah, dude, the wolf hunting up here is pretty insane. You'll watch a lot of videos of some guys going up way up north and getting after some wolves, and the mountain lion hunting up here is if not the best in the country. I mean, you get probably the biggest mountain lions in the country in this state. I mean, you can go on Boone and Crockett, which is like a little hunting. I think it's like a trophy service where people go in and they put in their shot animals. It could be a bear, it could be a mountain lion, it could be whatever. And like, one of the biggest ones is from Idaho, and they do it
Yeah.
by skull size. And I know some guys. I have a friend and her family. They're big hunters, and I have a video, and I'll have to send it to you. And it's
Yes.
literally my buddy, and it's his younger brother, basically one of the ranchers up there. They live out in the middle of nowhere, out in Cary, which is about
Yep.
actually
I know
just
Carrie.
probably about an
Yeah.
hour north of from where you
Yeah.
are.
My best friend
And
lives in Haley. It's right
yeah,
there.
yep, right there. And he literally went into a cave, and he was face to face with 100. I think he said 180 pound, or no, I think he said it was like 200 pound lion, and he shot it. And there's just a video of him, and he's just like shaking, and then he turns
Yeah.
the camera around, and there's a big old lion in this cave.
That's crazy.
So yeah, once it starts warming up here, man, I'll definitely have to come down to your neck of the woods, and we'll
Oh
get
yeah,
some
we'll,
fishing
we'll,
going.
we'll do a podcast on the river. That'd be fun.
Yes, that'd be great too. We'll do a little live if I can go live. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, once it starts warming up here, and I'll come down and we'll get after some fish. I know the sturgeon fishing down your way
Down.
is huge. So if I got enough gear, dude, we'll get after it.
Okay, I gotta let you know though, something fucked up happened. So like how what zebra mussels are,
Yep,
right?
yep,
So there's a certain kind of other mussel that I guess got into the lower part of the snake, past the falls.
yep.
So what the Department of whatever the hell decides to do, what they did, they put a bunch of chemicals at the falls and let it trickle down, killed everything. Sturgeon, bass,
No,
trout, yeah, like they're all
yikes.
washed up to the shore, yeah.
So
So
you're definitely gonna have to go upriver then.
yeah, it's a little fucked up right now, but hopefully it bounces back.
Yeah, we'll figure it out, man.
Yeah,
I'll
dude,
definitely
yeah.
have to let you know, and we'll plan a trip, and I'll drive down there, and we'll get after it.
Down, dude. Yeah,
But yeah, dude, I appreciate you being on and sharing your experiences with hunting and moving
appreciate
up
it.
here
Yeah.
and all the fishing and stuff. It's been great.
Yeah, when I saw you were doing this segment, dude, I was nothing but ecstatic, dude. It's like this is what you need to be doing, man.
Yeah.
Interviewing people about hunting and fishing, and
Yep.
doing a little bit yourself. So
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, dude. It's going to be an
I
awesome
appreciate it, brother.
podcast. It's going
I
to be an
really
awesome,
do.
TikTok, YouTube series. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, nothing
Yeah.
but good wishes to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, brother. Like always, it's been a blast, been a pleasure having you on, and we'll definitely have to do it again.
Down, man.